stop. Now, I saw on Neil Cavuto a clip with Michelle Bachmann. And I don't know if we even have it. We don't need it, Pat, if we don't have it. But the interview with Michelle Bachmann and Neil Cavuto, Neil goes crazy on her. And Neil says, what are you doing? John Boehner is suing the president of the United States? That's what he's doing? Yes, well, because he's overstepped his authority. I don't know about anybody else, but I can't take it. John Boehner is going to sue President Obama. John Boehner is. Really? Are you, John? This is such a shallow political trick that it's sickening to me. It really is sickening to me. Now, I got up this morning and I start reading the news on TheBlaze and I see Jonathan Turley. Now, Jonathan Turley is a guy who likes the president's policies. He's a guy who wants all of these policies through. But he is a constitutional scholar that has been probably the premier constitutional scholar for the press forever, because he's always pretty much on their side. On this particular case, with the president, he has been ringing the bell for the last 2 years saying, if Congress doesn't act to curb the president's power, we are losing the Constitution, we're losing the balance of power, and we are headed deeply into the territory of a dictatorship. He has been ringing the warning bell. Again, remember, he's not a guy who, like me, doesn't like the president, or his policies. He's a guy who likes the president, who likes his policies. He's just saying the president is being lawless. So I get up this morning, and I haven't listened to the audio yet. Let's listen to the audio. Here is Jonathan Turley yesterday on John Boehner's lawsuit.
Legally speaking, is there any kind of a case here?
Well, I think there is a case against the president for exceeding his authority. I happen to agree with the president on many of his priorities and policies, but as I testified in Congress, I think that he has crossed the constitutional line.
So where has he crossed it? Like, what specific issues he crossed it on?
Well, when the president went to Congress and said that he was going to go it alone, it obviously raises a concern because there's no license for going it alone in our system. And what he's done is very problematic. He shifted $454 million in the ACA from an appropriated purpose to another purpose. He's told agencies not to enforce some laws like immigration laws. He has effectively rewritten laws through the act of interpretation that I find very problematic. While I happen to agree with him, I voted for him. I think this is a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. I mean, listen to that. And listen to how it's CNN, isn't it, Pat?
That was MSNBC. Steve Kornacki.
MSNBC.
Yeah.
And listen to how they are still just shoveling in. Here's a guy who admittedly says, I like the president. I voted for him. I voted for this guy.
Says it a couple of times.
So he's not a racist. Mm-hmm. Right. He's not a racist. He's not anti-Obama. He's not in none of the usual charges. How do you get around what he just said? This is the kind of thing that America needs to hear. These are the kinds of things that my friends on the left need to hear. This isn't, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me. But you have to start hearing the truth. And it's really hard. I mean, especially if we decide to hammer people. If we decide to say, well, it's your fault. And I have to tell you, I have been talking to some people, in the last few months, that it is really hard for me to bite my tongue. Really, really hard to bite my tongue. Because they will say, you Tea Party people, you're doing blah, 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 blah. Well, that is one way to look at it. Okay. But here's actually the fact that maybe you're missing. And to never respond, well, you know what your guys have done? It's really hard. But we'll never get anybody, if we have their shields up, you'll never get anybody to listen. And I know it firsthand because I'm talking to people on the left who are actually, I think, very reasonable, and they're not attacking me. They're saying very politely, well, wait a minute, Glenn. How come the Tea Party did X, Y, and Z? Well, actually, that's not what happened. I mean,